here. We're gonna get that moving. All right, we get this here. All right, so we've got this. This is the Trinity Zero, and it is a brewer that I made a video about maybe a couple of years ago, and I haven't used it since. I was thinking about what are we going to use for making coffee today, and I thought let's use this. It's a kind of a pressurized brewer that has this perforated bottom here that's supposed to be a screen, and then there's the big thing is that there's a pump. Right, it pumps like this. You open it up. Thank you for choosing. Thank you for having me. I think this was given to me by a friend of mine, Gautam Kamberi of Brewing Gadgets in Dubai when I was there on the last trip. So we've got this little piece here, or a basket, and so real simple, 3 pieces. There's a little bit of a, pump. Keone, aloha to you from Manila. How are things there? Did you get my message about going to check out maybe the curator? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A. We're here on, again, Tuesday. What is it? Tuesday, October 1st. Can you believe it? The year's almost over. We're getting older, and as you get older, it just goes by a lot faster. So, as you may already know, weekday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern time here, most weekday mornings. Mom, good to see you up there. Dylan, hello to you. All right, so we're going to be talking about some green coffee, but first I thought let's make some coffee before we start. And I was digging through the boxes, and I have this Trinity Zero, so let's get on with that one. We're going to take our fellow scale here. All right, so there's the fellow Tally Pro. We're going to need this. Let's turn that on, if I can remember how to do this correctly. Okay, so yesterday I switched modes. So today I'm going to hold the mode. So the guys from Trinity say that for this, you need 18 grams in this basket. All right, let's see if we can do that. So 18 grams. Oops, 20 grams. Oh, we'll leave 20 grams, whatever. That's the nice thing about having this Brew Assist. It can tell us. So if we want to do, let's say we want to do a brew ratio of 1 to 16. We're going to have 20 grams. We're going to need 320 grams of water now, right? So, and then if we can't fit all of this into here, we can, it'll automatically compensate. So unlike with my method, where I would have to sit there and calculate, recalculate 2 grams for every finished ounce, and then take that ounce and then convert it to grams. We don't have to do that anymore. Now, what they say for the Trinity is that you're supposed to do a medium fine grind. And I think that our grind has been fairly medium fine because we've had, like yesterday's extraction was a little bit deeper. So let's try it here. We're not going to change the setting. Well, actually, I'm going to go back to the 6th setting, the center setting. And let's see what happens. Keone says, yes, first time I've seen Liberica on onocoffee. Oh, yeah, did you? So Liberica in the Philippines is, let me talk while I work. Liberica is actually a coffee they've been growing there for many, many years. And a lot of it has been grown in the lowlands of the province called Batangas, which Batangas is actually, from your perspective, if this is Manila, it's kind of over here to the south, maybe an hour or 2 away. So they've grown a lot of Liberica there, and in the Philippines, it's actually what they call barako. Barako is just the local term for it. And that was weird, and so fast. So fast. I love the speed. The barako, so I first started drinking barako back in the 90s when I was going to Manila, and there's a place there called Figaro. It's a local coffee shop that really the owner was really into supporting local coffees. And that's the interesting thing about the Philippines. The Philippines has a very, very strong local coffee culture. Okay, how am I supposed to do this? Okay, so we've got 20 grams in here. We want to brew into our vessel. Okay. And we're going to brew all of this together. So since all of this has to be, okay. We're going to use this to measure the amount of water we're going to add. Okay, so there is that. We're gonna tear this. Okay, there. I'm putting all this in here. Just because I need to tear it all out, right? So we're gonna tear that, and then we're going to add the coffee. So I guess you kind of have to get it all ready. How's this gonna work? Okay, that's all teared. That's all teared. 20 grams. We got 20 grams. Okay, we don't have 20 grams anymore. We don't have 20 grams. This looks fairly coarse. Look at that. That looks pretty coarse for what we're trying to do. But we're gonna see. Okay. We have some loss there. We got some loss. Let's bring our scale back into the frame. And now we're going to add this. And that's telling us we have 18.4 grams of coffee. Okay, great. Great. And then now we see it just like a portafilter, it locks into place. We're going to lock that in place. And now that's going to sit in our thing. Okay, good. So I've got some off the boiling water here. I'm going to pour directly from the kettle. Oh, wait. Okay, so now we don't need to, this is where I got to remember, 18.4, 294. I'm going to hit that button. There we go. Now we're set to go 294, and we're going to add 100 grams. They said to add 100 grams. So I guess that's how much we'll fit. Oh, we have 104 grams. We want to go to 294 total. Okay, so 294, 104. We need to add 190 grams more, right, to get our regular coffee. Now we have to press down on this with this lid. So we're going to put this lid on here like this, right? So we need to add 100. 294, we got a 104, 290, right? 290. So now we have to press down on this button. Press and hold it down, and you're going to see that it's starting to flow. We might not be able to. Can you see that? You see that's starting to flow. This is not so efficient. Actually, hold on. Let's use this tool. I have a tool that we might be able to use. Oh, breaking stuff now. Let's get our little Bunsen burner stand up. Maybe get a better angle. There we go. Okay, pressure down. So we're about minute 40 into our brew cycle. But like I said, this place called Figaro in the Philippines, really a local shop focused on, promoting Barako, the Liberica coffee. And there, because of the conditions in Batangas, it's all been very much natural process. So fruity. And, in the 90s, I started drinking that coffee, and I enjoyed it. I liked it. I liked the idea of Barako. But, of course, I don't know whether that was because I really like coffee, which I probably didn't, or it was just kind of a side thing, or more because, you wanted to find some level of, national pride, right? Cultural pride. Okay, so let's see here. We've got our lid here. I feel like there's no more left. Oh, yeah, there's no more left. Okay, so we've squeezed pretty much everything out of it. Just trying to clear that out. Now, this is supposed to have given us, so in 2 minutes, 30 seconds, this is supposed to have given us a concentrated brew. So let me put this back away. Now we're going to, everything is like, okay, we just need to add 100 90 grams, right? So let us we're going to just switch modes. We're going to tear it out. And now we're just going to add 190 grams. And that should give us the ratio of brew water that we want. Now we're low. We're like only about 2.5 minutes or so. Should we be worried about the coffee? I mean, it's one of the things where, we don't. If we were doing a pour over brew, we would not be having the extraction time that we would ideally want to get a full flavored cup. Now, in this case, because we're using this light pressurization, that theoretically gives us greater extraction, much like the AeroPress, much like the mocha pot or the espresso machine. We're giving pressure to the brew, so it should give us better extraction. Now let's have a look here. Peter says that Liberica is underrated. I agree, and that it's from Liberica in Liberia in West Africa. Yes, is that right? Okay, so it looks fairly good. Looks fairly good, right? Let us get our glass here to see our elixir. I mean, that it looks slightly cloudy, right, comparatively to what we normally see here. This is the House Nation, of course, and but it looks, I mean, visually speaking, it looks like it's fairly well brewed. So let's give it a taste. And yeah, some good sweetness. Not bad. So the interesting thing with the Liberica, or at least the Barraco, is that it's quite popular in the Philippines. And actually, and in the 90s especially, there wasn't that heavily, it wasn't really heavily focused on the quality levels that we're seeing today. Like in modern times, there's a lot of focus on. Oh, by the way, CUNY, just to remind me, if you happen to be staying in Makati and you feel like going out and you don't mind being surrounded by cigars, but you want some nice cocktails and maybe some nice steak, there's a place called Elbert's, ELBERT apostrophe S, Elbert's Real Room at the steakhouse that's in Salcedo Village. If you go there tonight, the guys will be hanging out. Ask for Luigi. Tell him, hey, man, I said hello. But it's a nice little bar for cocktails and whiskeys and, of course, cigars. It's really a cigar bar masquerading as a whiskey bar. And usually we go there practically every night of the week. But usually I never, and that's the one that was the interesting thing. Like here in the United States, if I'll go have a cigar, it'll be earlier in the evening, right? 8 o'clock, maybe at the latest. There, I wouldn't even think about going there till after 10 p.m. So you could go there straight away after we finish here and still have a nice time if you don't mind that kind of environment. But that's up to you. But it's kind of funny because we'll go out Tuesday night. I mean, Tuesday night, we'll be there. I'll go there at 11. 2 in the morning, roll home, and then the next day go back to work. So anyway, that's called Elbert's. Elbert's on HV de la Costa is the street in Salcedo Village in Makati. But like I said, there's Curator. That should be kind of nice. Again, very focused on cocktails, but recognized as being one of the best cocktail bars in not just the Philippines, in Asia. That's the place. I mean, there's some other place that I was thinking about. Like a friend of mine, Ernie Messina, opened the place about a year ago. He's celebrating his first year anniversary at his place, Messina's Coffee House. But the problem is it's far. Like I want to go visit there myself, but because I'm friends with him, but it's in Antipolo, which is far away from Manila. If you're staying in Manila, man, it's at least an hour, 45 minutes to an hour in the Uber or in the Grab. What else is good in Manila? I sent them. There's a place called Because Coffee. The baristas there were very solid. The coffee was very nice. The experience was very good. I can't say anything bad about it. Um, there are some misgivings that I have about it, but nothing that I haven't said in the video that's already out. Um, but those are really the places that I think that come to mind as places that I go, because you already went to Commune, you already saw Roz, and yeah, okay, good. So, but the interesting about Philippine coffee is that there's a very strong local market, which was very interesting. When I started buying coffee in the Philippines, and really I was interested in buying coffee because I'm Filipino, so I wanted to bring Philippine coffee to America. But I'm kind of stuck in this paradigm of running Spro and being very specialty, so I just can't bring any coffee in. And unfortunately, a lot of the locally grown coffee, like a lot of the Baracos, are they're not quite specialty grade coffees, and the reality is that they don't need to be in the Philippines. They don't. There is, don't get me wrong, there's some beautifully grown coffees, and the coffees we eventually started buying and bringing to the United States, or I always thought was the finest that the country had to offer. But one of the interesting things about this is that the coffee there, especially when I started buying coffee in 2013, the local price for coffee was 330 pesos per kilo of coffee, which when you broke it down to US dollars, turned out to be about $3.30 per pound of coffee, green. And this is for stuff that's not even 80 points, right? This is not even specialty grade. This is just local grade. And when other American buyers would come, or I would talk to her, they were like, "That's just too expensive." And it's like, and the interesting dichotomy is that in my part of the business, especially coffee business, you see a lot of Western buyers, Western companies talking they give a lot of talk about, we want to help the farmers, we want to pay them more, we want to give them more money, we want to give them better, blah, 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 blah. They talk on and on ad nauseum about all this like do good crap. They don't. But at the end of the day, they all want to buy coffee for $1.90. So a lot of Western buyers that I would talk to would balk at the price of local Philippine coffees because they were $3.30 a pound, and not even like special, not even like 82, not even 81, maybe not even 80, right? Like, and it was like, they don't need it because there's such a demand in the country for the local coffees that's why the price is higher. And so this is kind of the situation this is the illustration, or this is the anomaly that illustrates kind of the duality of like specialty coffee buyers. They talk a lot of like big talk, but when it actually comes time and you're going to have to buy coffee at 82 point coffee for like maybe 450, they don't want to do it. Japanese buyers, Asian buyers, that's not, their metrics are different, but it's an interesting thing to see. And this is what I've explored as I've traveled across the world buying coffee in different regions, whether I was in Africa or Central America or South America. The conversation with Western buyers was always kind of the same. The conversation with Japanese buyers is a bit different, right? Like one of my friends who he's kind of crazy. He'll buy coffee at almost any price, and we were in Colombia and we were at one of the auctions, and he's always like, "Come on, bid more." And I was like, I can't afford to bid more. I couldn't pay the bill if I bid more. Good morning to you, Michael. Yeah, okay, yeah. If you get a chance, give it a try to go there, check it out. And then Kyo says, I was impressed with Commune, the quality of pour-overs and the variety of Philippine beans. Yeah, the interesting thing about the Philippine coffee scene is that it really got its start. When I first started going there for coffee was in 2013, when they asked me to come and judge their barista championship that year. And I started meeting people, and back then there was 3 guys that opened a place called, what was the name of it called? Anyway, they opened the first specialty shop, and that was really the springboard for all specialty coffee in the Philippines. And that was like maybe at the earliest it was 2012. Yeah, it was 2012 because I was there in January of 2013. So in 2012 they started this. So specialty coffee third wave, especially as we know it today, in the Philippines only started in 2012. That's really where it all emerged. And by doing this one shop, these three guys kind of affected the whole trajectory of the coffee market in the Philippines and impacted, you know, hundreds and or maybe thousands of the lives of thousands of people that become baristas that would find passion and excitement in coffee. So it's really interesting. I was able to see that, in January 2013 when it was still just this one shop, and they were really the only shop in the country at that time. So it's really, really exciting and interesting to see that happen. But or is I leading with that? I don't know, but there's a lot of places that so so comparatively to the rest of the world, it's still very nascent, and in some respects, some places were very much trying to, they would have to follow the examples of Australia or the Scandinavians, which honestly, I always thought that was overrated. Yeah, I'll say it. I'll say it. Why not? But anyway, nice coffee scene, a lot of great places to get coffee. I would also encourage you to go check out the capehans, like these places, and I haven't been able to explore them in Manila myself. Um, but these are like the local coffee joints that are like not using anything remotely close to specialty, and the guys are all going to be hanging out. There's not going to be air conditioning. It's going to be really basic rustic coffee, kind of like the place we went to in Bacolod called G&L Cafe. I think they're kind of interesting to check out. I would like to check out more myself the next time. Actually, you should see my Google Map list. It's kind of terrible, all these places I would like to go. All right, so today we've got our little IKEA bag here because Bibendum needs to move over. So, like, I've been in this. You might have known, but I've been in the coffee business now since 2002. So, 22 years I've been doing coffee. I started going to my first Specialty Coffee Association of America show in 2003 in Boston, and was completely overwhelmed. You go to that show for the very first time, and you're just like, "What is happening here? I don't know what's going on." Even that first show was like a dichotomy, because I'd been in the coffee business for about a year, but just kind of on the tertiary parts, right? I wouldn't really start to really get into it for another, if this is April 2003, it would be like that fall. That September that I would actually start to really fall in the rabbit hole. And I'm at this trade show, and you hear all this stuff, but again, even back then, farmers, we want to share the money. But I remember I'm there, and one of the things that really impacted me was, here is the Fair Trade Alliance, right? The Fair Trade Coffee people. They have this booth, and it's a massive booth. Now, back then they had a booth, a huge, like it's huge, $100,000 booth, right? And they would have farmers that they flew in from different countries that they work with, and they would have little tables where you could sit and talk with them and meet them and see their coffees. So it's a nice thing. But man, I just remember thinking, these guys would easily spend $150,000 on a booth. How does that go to the farmers, right? And then so that was kind of a strange dichotomy. And then I'm walking around and I find the barista championships. And here's the announcer, and he's like, the competitors are serving coffee. And I was like, what are these people doing? What kind of stupidity is this, right? And the guy serves the cappuccino, and the MC is like, let's hear it for the cappuccinos, and everyone applauds. And I was like, these people are cheering for cappuccino. What? That's crazy. And I remember thinking to myself, I'll never be one of those people. That's just stupid. So, there's always something. But anyway, fast forward to a year later, they take the show to Atlanta. Let me just double check and make sure that I'm not babbling on too much. Michael says that, love this insight you always provide this, but yeah. People are probably upset with me for talking about things about like that. Keone says the interesting thing is that there seems to be quite a few places here that are coffee cocktail cafes that open at 9 and close at 1. Yeah, that's the one thing about, and I don't know if it's like this truly in Bangkok, but definitely Manila, and definitely in a lot of other places that I've been to in the world where you like for coffee in the Philippines, you don't really go to specialty places like early in the morning, like here in America. Like America, you want to be open 7 a.m. I mean, I think people in the Philippines will drink coffee at home, mostly Nestle 3-in-1 type of coffee you get from a pack and you mix it up. And then later they may get coffee elsewhere. And also a lot of it's also because, like if you're not, okay, the Philippines has different classes of society. It's not a caste system as it is in India, but there is a recognition of different class levels, right? There is A, B, C, and D. Everything but C and D is what they consider the masa, and A and B, of course, are the upper class. The A's are upper class. Now, if you're like in the C and D, well, maybe if you're B and C, you're just a regular working person, depending on what part of B, but definitely if you're in C, you're a working person. And you may have a car, or you may have to commute, right? And if you have to commute, typically the people that are commuting are coming from far away. Like I remember, I knew this one girl, she lived in Bulacan, and she worked in San Juan, which takes no less than 2 hours to commute by what they call Tamaraw or FX, and you take the local, bus or whatever. And I mean, so these people, a lot of the people in Manila are taking 2-3 hours to travel from wherever they live in the metropolitan area, to their work. So, they're getting up at like 4 a.m, leaving their house by 5 or 6 to get there like at 8 so they can start work at 9. And it's like, oh my gosh. So yeah, it can be very difficult to work in the capital. And so the way people drink coffee is very different. They won't drink till later in the day, because what they gotta do is they gotta if they're gonna have coffee in the morning, they gotta hustle and get to like whatever like transportation is gonna take them. So I thought that was really interesting. Now, of course, the upper classes, the people that have money, they have a whole different lifestyle. They live in nice neighborhoods. They have cars. They have drivers. So the equation is different, right? The equation. This is really sweet brewing. Sometimes I'm surprised that I even make nice coffee. All right, so yeah, so the whole thing about that is it's just very different. You just go to coffee places later and they're open later, which as an operator, I find that kind of horrifying. Like I remember one of my girlfriends, she was always like, why don't you open a restaurant? I was like, because I don't want to work that late. Like, I don't want to work into the night. That's not, I don't mind getting up early and working into the afternoon, but I don't want to work till like midnight or 1 o'clock. Peter says, sad to see younger Asians embracing specialty coffee and abandoning old school traditional coffee. I mean, I think it is sad, but I think it's a balance, right? I think that the video that we did from Chuan Ho, the coffee factory in Klang, Malaysia, the owner, Tan Lun Chuan, the guy in the video, he's, of course, he's old school. He's 60-some years old. He's been working there since he was 18, or he'd been working there since he was a child. He took over when he was 18. He's now, 64? So he's been there a long time, but that's the old Chinese way, right? They have these old school stuff. And his son, though, from what they were telling me, his son has been one of the big forces behind Chuan Ho bringing in better quality green coffee. Now, they're not necessarily using that higher quality green. They're more like they do green wholesaling. But I think that, I believe, and this is why I think I'm so fascinated by the old school places, that I think that there are lessons to be learned at these old school places that we can take some of their style or maybe their concepts and bring that into more of a specialty approach. Really, what I'm saying is just better quality coffee, right? If we use better quality coffee with these old school styles, then perhaps that will attract the younger generation to at least have a better appreciation for the old ways. And in many respects, when I go to Japan, or the videos that I'm releasing from Japan, they're almost all focused on the old school Kisaten part, mainly because that's what I find interesting, right? So I do think there's a way to do that to make it interesting and even compelling for younger generations of coffee drinkers. Um, because let's be honest, like a lot of the coffees that you'll drink at some of these places, I mean, if you can be very open-minded, it can be an enjoyable drink. But if you really are in that more less experienced mindset, and I was going to say younger, but that's not the accurate. I don't think that's accurate. I mean, it just goes back to that arrogance, right? Of being new to a business or new to your knowledge. Where, we talked before about this, like if you're with 5 years into something, you've got you're through those 5 years, you've got it. You're gaining enough knowledge to be dangerous, to be arrogant about it, right? To pontificate about absolutes. You go past 5 years, 10 years on, and those absolutes, they start to, whatever, it's fine. So that's what I mean. Like you could be, 45 years old, but early in the business and be like hardcore, like paradigm about it. So, but I do think that there are ways to uh, maybe export some of their technology and then combine it with nice quality coffee and make something really exciting and enjoyable to try. Dana's with us. Greetings to you as well. My favorite coffee shop in Bangkok doesn't open until 10:30 and are closed on, oh, yeah, that's terrible, on Monday. And then Dana says with Manila traffic, that's like a fight. Interesting you see that because and I think Bangkok is somewhat similar to this. And I heard Jakarta's worse. But I remember my sister-in-law, we would talk about this when they were living in Manila. And I still find this to be true today. Like, let's say you have 6 things you want to do today, and you have to go around the city to do them. If you get 3 of those done in a day, and I mean like from morning to evening, and it could be like, let's say you start out at 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. and you come back at 10 or 11 at night, and you've only accomplished 3 of those items, success. That's because sometimes, man, it is so brutal to drive around and like get things done because you have to commute there or drive there, right? And the traffic can be like brutal. And then you have to park or get the car to wait for you or go into this place. And then there's a battle to be had. There's a whole battle because if you're trying to buy stuff at a big store, the problem with the Philippines is that if you're an employer and you hire someone for 6 months, then you now have to provide benefits. So most companies will only hire people on a contract basis for 5 months, and then they release them. So they never really train them, and the staff never really knows what they're doing, no matter how many people you may have in a place. Like you go to SM, and there's thousands of employees, and they're all waiting around for you, and they're all like, hey, sir, hi, ma'am, blah, 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 blah. But if you ask them about things, 99.9% have no idea what they're what they're selling. They're like, because and it's a sad thing because they, it's not like the wages there are scandalous, especially with the prices some of the places are charging. But it's just that if you're not gonna keep someone for more than 5 months, you're not investing in them, you're not training them, you're just putting them on the floor. And then the person only knows they're there for 5 months. So what impetus do they have to do more? So it's like, it's this terrible. So when you go to these places, you're like, we don't have this in stock. Oh, good Lord, man. When do you know when? We don't know. Good Lord, man. It's like, I'd like some milk. We don't have any in stock. Do you know when you're going to have some? I'm not sure. Really? Milk? Well, not milk's a bad example, but you know what I'm saying? Dan is asking, did I miss the stream about the durian drink? No, not yet. You have not. I know that last week I set up a whole bunch of stuff in a certain order, and now that it's just getting jumbled. So no, not yet. You have not missed that yet. Peter says, do not coddle the durian. We're gonna do it, man. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Peter says it's just amazing by itself. I know I've got quite a few comments about people we're like, oh my gosh, you did what with the natto? I was like, oh well, it's kind of funny. And Dana says, call me crazy, but I like durian a lot more than that's crazy. That's crazy. I think that's crazy. Oh, and so does Killing. Really, you guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. And the data says Manila traffic is far worse than Jakarta or Bangkok, but Yangon beats them all by far. Oh, really? Wow. I didn't think. Well, I haven't. I mean, I've only been around Bangkok. Yeah, Bangkok wasn't too bad, but it depends. And for me, Manila isn't. I don't know. Maybe I've been going there for long enough that I just kind of like gloss over. But I remember in the '90s, like it was in the '90s, Manila was really bad, and maybe that's because it became really bad in the '90s, so it was much more exacerbated. But I remember sitting in the car for like 2 hours to go a kilometer or two. It was like this is just horrible. Now I don't feel like that. I feel like I can go. I can feel like I can if I want to go to Antipolo to go to my shoe guy. I don't even think about it. Like it's like, yeah, let's take about an hour, hour and a half, and just go. I try not to go like, in certain times of the day. And then every once in a while, like one time I remember I had a meeting. I was in Harrison. On Harrison, I was at my friend's hotel visiting. And then I had to go to a meeting in Makati. And it's 4 kilometers away. I was around the EDSA, but it was Friday afternoon. And I left Harrison at must have been like 4 o'clock. Because I think I had to be there at like 4:30. Oh man. I didn't get back for 2 hours. I was like, this is like out of control. Okay. Before let's talk about this. So we've got our bag of so fast forward again, 2004. Specialty Coffee Association trade show is happening. And they didn't call it Expo then. Expo is a Specialty Coffee Association after the merger rubbish. Atlanta, Georgia. And so one of my friends, Bryan, who's actually the guy that in some ways, he kind of got me into coffee. Because when I first met him in like 2002, he was really into coffee. I was running a shave ice business. And, we were drinking coffee one day because he was really into coffee. And I was like, maybe we should do. So when I had to do something, I decided to add coffee. He was at that time, he had a Solus 5000, one of those little tiny machines. And I remember asking, would this work in a coffee shop? He's like, no, you don't want to buy that. I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, so in 2004, he's like, hey, I'll go down to Atlanta. So we went down to Atlanta. And if you go to these places, you'll find a lot of green purveyors, people selling green coffee, and you can get samples. Now, I know for the enthusiasts, you're like, oh my God, I get free coffee. You do get free coffee. And they're usually under 350 grams of samples. And so Bryan got a whole bunch of them. And his intention was to roast that. And I think we did a roasting one time with that little black tabletop popcorn style popper roaster. That's actually Bryan's. I've been borrowing it for like the last 15 years. And he was supposed to roast, and then he never did. And so he was like, hey man, I'm just going to give this to you. So now we have this opportunity to taste these. These are 20-year-old coffees. 20 years of sitting around, not, I think he kept them relatively in a closet or something. So it wasn't exposed to light, it wasn't really kept up or anything, of course. I mean, I'm expecting that there's going to be quite a bit of drying. So I would imagine, so ideally we want moisture content of coffee to be about 9 to 10 and a half, 11, maybe 12 at the I think 11. It's been a long time. And I'm sure these are lower than that. Like I can't imagine after 20 years they would be, the same. So let's get into it and see what we have here. Let me just catch up on our chat going on. Peter says, durian is the king, jackfruit is the jester of... I love that. Yeah, Dana agrees. Bali traffic is getting bad nowadays over tourism. Okay, so no trips to Bali. I could see that as the roadways are undeveloped, and now a lot of white folks are going back. Okay. In Bali, yes. I feel the same way about customer. Michael says, I feel the same way customer service when visiting Home Depot. Yeah, you know what? I've had some interest. Like I was buying this window, and I got a call from my local, and I bought it from my local Home Depot. And I placed this huge order with Home Depot for that one, right? A lot of materials for the new shop, and they delivered everything except for this window, which took like a month to make. Now, my local shop where I ordered it from, I guess they send the order out to whatever central system they have, and then the central system decides which store is going to fulfill it. So this other store fulfilled my order of the materials, and so they loaded on a truck and trucked it over to the shop and dropped it off, and the crew took care of it. But when it came to pick up the window, which I told them I'll just come pick it up, so I'm not going to pay for it. Just a window. How bad could it be? Of course, it took up it took up more than the space of my truck bed. But I went to my local shop because I got the call. They said, "What's ready?" So I went there, and they couldn't find it. So I had to go to Towson, the other location. They didn't have it there either. I'm like, "What the hell?" And they did have it at my local one, just that I don't know. Sometimes, but yeah, I hear you on that Home Depot thing. Speaking of Home Depot, I'm actually thinking about buying Wera screwdrivers. Not that they have them there, but they have Weha at Lowe's. So I was thinking about going to Lowe's today and just looking at them because my little local Woodcraft has Wera, and I was like, "Ooh, the laser etched screwdrivers might be a nice investment." Dana says we're coming to the end of durian season in Bangkok. Oh. And then Keone says that I think Manila's traffic is worse than Bangkok. I think the BTS and MRT in Bangkok have made a positive impact on traffic. Yes, I totally agree with that. This is the problem. So Manila does have their own transportation system. And I remember in the 90s, they had the LRT, which runs along Blumentritt, Harrison, down through the downtown area. Then they built the MRT in the 90s, which goes from basically goes from Makati to EDSA, SM North in EDSA. Which if you in the 90s had to go along the EDSA during the day, like you would just be a miserable person. So it would take you 45 minutes to travel that distance. And I remember when they first built that train, I got on it and I went to EDSA, SM North, and I was like, oh my God. It took like 15 minutes. It was so fast. I was so amazed. It was really nice. And of course, it's really nice because the Philippine government at the time got a Japanese company to bid on it and build it. So the Japanese company built this beautiful train system called the MRT with like 15, 20 train sets and a maintenance contract for, I don't know, 10 years. Everything worked great. Finally, when that was all done, here's the problem with the Philippines. And I think probably partially, maybe it's part of the legacy of being a colonial, colony. And also, I think it's because I personally think it's a lot has to do with being based upon the United States, right? The U.S. imposing its system of everything on it. Corruption is rampant, right? So now that the contract is over, the maintenance contract of the trains goes to a crony whose company does deferred maintenance. And maybe the 15 train sets become 5 train sets that are working. And the air conditioning doesn't work. And can you imagine air conditioning on a train not working? And you having to commute? It's miserable. Like, it's terrible. Like, it's so terrible. I think that's why when Duterte was running to become president of the Philippines, I think that's why a lot of people went for him, because he talked change. He talked, and if you looked at like the Al Jazeera, I remember watching a report from Al Jazeera, like a 45-minute documentary on Duterte and his impact on Davao, how it was quite lawful, the city services worked, people's lives were improved. Like, if you think about these people that are commuting from outside the city, 2, 3, 4 hours each way, and they're having to ride in things like the MRT that's packed, it's tropical weather, it's raining, it's humid, it's just miserable. If this guy can do to Manila and the rest of the country what he did in Davao, and this is the question that I have. I was glad that I didn't have to wrestle with it back then, right? It was like, because I don't vote there, right? So it's like, and he was very open about, I'm going to kill all these like drug dealers. So if he can achieve that for the 75 million people that live in the Philippines. And part of the collateral damage of that is, wiping out 10,000 people. Is that a price? Is that a price people are willing to pay? That's an ethical dilemma that I would have a very difficult time with, which I'm glad that I didn't have to deal with. All right, so that's very heavy, isn't it? Yeah, I would have to say I would agree with DNA. Like, you get the card and you get on the MRT. Is that right? The MRT in Bangkok, it is really nice. Like, I didn't take it the last time because I didn't need to, but in the years that I was there, just jump on at Asok or whatever station you're going to, and it's really, really comfortable. Peter says, do coffee with MSG. Okay, we will try that too. We'll try that. Dana says, I still have that high humidity aged coffee. Should I bring the beans? Oh, yeah, you should. 2 years old, that's nothing. 20 years is collector's edition. Yes. Okay, so let's go. And then Peter says, I had 5 years old Mexican coffee. I think that here's the thing. I actually aged coffee after I went to Cafe del Hombre for the very first time in 2007 and met Sakaguchi-san. I was so inspired by his place. It's so different than what I was thinking about in coffee. And he has these aged coffees. And I don't think James ever said this in public, but with our friends, James was telling me that I remember him saying that this was the greatest coffee experience he had, but also some of the worst coffee he's had. He's very particular about what he likes. But I was so interested in this aged coffee. We've been aging coffee ever since. So I have coffees from 2008 that we've been aging over the years. And I just think it's a fascinating experience. But what I find is that not every coffee can be aged. Like, the coffees have to be really well sorted, really well produced. And there has to be certain characteristics about them that will hold up over time. I think it's like some of these wines. Like, for example, let's say something, and I don't know if this is really one of them, but let's say like something like this from Saint-Emilion, right? It needs to have good bones, good structure before it can be good for aging. And I think that's true with coffee. So who knows what we're going to find in here, but let's have a look here and see. Dana says the trains in Bangkok are amazing. And well, yes, I totally agree with that. And then his wife always asks why movies from the US make the trains in New York look so old and dirty. Oh, yeah. Yeah, everybody likes. New Yorkers are always like, this is the greatest city in the world. It's like, no, it's not. No. Londoners, greatest city. No, definitely not. All right, so let's have a look here. We got some stuff from Stump. I'm gonna take it out here. I'm gonna push it over. So we got some stuff here from Stumptown. This is a Stumptown Kenya Double A. Where's my bowls? Oh, there it is. So let's have a look at this. This is the Kenya Double A. Wow, we're 48 minutes into this show, and I haven't even started with the coffee. So, just looking at it, it doesn't look terrible. Now, if there's something along the way that we're seeing here that you're like, hey, I definitely want to know more about that, let me know in the comments so that I can make sure that because I probably won't be able to roast all of these in one setting. Maybe we'll do it over. Well, I mean, this could be something that we could do over the next year. I mean, after 20 years, what does 21 give? Legal. This one. Okay, so there's a Kenya Double A here from Stumptown Coffee Roasters. And I'm going to presume that this is accurate to the labeling, right? We've got a Kenya Double A. What else do we have here? We've got something from a place called Professional Creations. And this is a Bolivian coffee, late 2003 harvest, the Caranavi, washed organic Arabica typica, 1,200 to 1,600 meters. Moisture is 12%, probably not anymore. Shade grown and sun dried. So it looks, I mean, these, looking at them, they look fairly decent especially for coffees that have been around for such a long time. Okay, here's something from Cafe Imports. This is a Brazil 100% yellow Bourbon. Not bad. What else? This is from a farm called Agroforestal La Colina, Las Mercedes, and this is in Jalapa. I'm presuming that Jalapa meaning Nicaragua, Quintila, Mataques Quintila, and Marco Kilo, 4,900 to 5,800 feet, strictly SHB, strictly hard bean. Mm-hmm. Nice. This one is from Mubuyu Farms Limited in Zambia, Lusaka. Oh, this is from my friend Taya Lublinkov. This is her farm in Zambia. So this is a green AA grade, 150 grams. John Mwale is the producer. Right. That's kind of interesting. What is this now? This is a unmarked bag, Zimbabwe C grade. So this should be, this should be kind of interesting. If this truly is what it says it is. Oh, actually. Okay, so this is, I guess they're calling this C grade coffee, not necessarily mean commercial, because commercial would look very different, but you can definitely see here, like for example, let's look here. You can kind of notice here in the corner, we have these kind of broken bits. There's a broken bit of coffee there. So C grade is going to, if they're following in Zimbabwe, similar gradings like A, double A, I don't know if they have a B grade, but maybe a B grade, but these are just going to be different grades in size. Like the larger the size, the more the so double A is larger than A. And then as you can see with this C grade here, this is small beans. These are really small beans. Fairly nice and clean though. Smells clean. So still specialty, but just I guess they're C grade. I don't know much about Zimbabwean coffee because I've never bought coffee in Zimbabwe, but I might have to try this one just to see what that's like. Right, that could be kind of interesting. What else do we have here? We've got some more coming up. This one is from Cafe Imports as well, Nicaragua, Angelina Estate. Not very much information about it. But again, like if you remember the bean before, they're smaller than this. These are kind of average size beans. Peter says you can rehydrate and re-dry them. I've heard about that. I've never tried it. How do they smell? I mean, these are. Of course they're in sealed bags, but the ones that are they smell clean. They're not. There's no issues. And here's something that's also another thing that, speaking of issues, one of the things you want to think about, or if you're a green buyer, right? Some things to think about is you don't want your beans going over 11.5, maybe 12%. You want them below that. If you have 11.5, maybe 12% or more, you could have some serious issues as far as degradation of the coffee, maybe even spoilage through bacterial growth, things like that. And these are all fairly well sorted. So even though they're 20 years old, there's been no funkiness, no growths or anything like that. So that's always a positive thing. So we got that. What else we have here? We've got this, another one from Cafe Imports, Campo Alegre from Huila, Colombia. This is, what does it say here? I can't see what that says. The logo. Estate Coffee. Oh, there we go. Colombian specialty coffee, Campo Alegre. I have to look at the monitor. So nice. This is from the era, and the interesting thing, these Colombian coffees are going to be from the era before Castillo really started to root and take over. There's been a lot of planting. So, if you're familiar with like the coffee rust disease, or what they call La Roya in Spanish, the FNC really started pushing the Castillo varietal around this time to be planted by a lot of farmers because it has very strong disease resistance. And early on, like maybe 2005, a year or two after this or so, because it was a rust-resistant varietal, people really believe, and rust resistant, but also what FNC wants is also productivity, right? So better production, greater rust resistance. And one of the things that people were concerned about is that, it's got all those things, but how about the cup quality? The cup quality was not as good. It wouldn't be for another maybe 5 years after 2003, maybe 2008, that a Castillo would start to become award-winning type of coffee. So it's interesting to see that these coffees are from the era before before people knew about Castillo. Now this one here, let's have a look. This one is a Burundi Arabica FWB grade from Mumirwa origin, Mageo Station, and this is a 2004-2005 crop. So this was harvested. So if the show happened in April 2004, then this was harvested like right before they had the show. Looks kind of, the colorant, see these, like the weird like yellowness to it, orangey. I think that's an indication that it could be natural process. Another one for Zambica Estates from Zambia. High Plateau Hawk. I don't know. Zambica Hawk. Smaller beans again. That looks interesting. No, I didn't notice any herby or grainy smells there, Peter. Just all clean. At least the ones that we opened. I mean, we'll probably go through them later and open some more. So this is another Cafe Imports Nicaragua Angelina Estate. So yeah, like I said, if any of these look particularly interesting to you that we should try, then let me know. What else we have here? This one here is Fedeco Cagua. Fedeco Cagua. Strictly hard bean, European prep, which means that it's grown above 1,600 meters. Fair trade coffee, 03-04 harvest. Guatemala. Fair trade coffee, fair trade certified. What else we have? We have this coffee here from Chumba Valley Coffee, established back in 1987. And this is sun-ripened coffee. Okay, so sun-ripened coffee and freshly roasted to give blah, 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 blah. Zambia, more from Zambia, from the Galonia farms. Looks okay. I mean, the samples that we're seeing, and I'm looking at these, there's nothing that I think is really worried about them. These are small. These are some small beans. This is from Malawi, the Muzuzu, also from Cafe Imports. Look how small that is. Again, they look pretty clean. Peter says, like old spices tend to lose that intensity and smells. Yeah, I think when it comes to it, I don't know. We really look for more clean aromas, right? Yeah, nothing untoward. I mean, nothing like, it's not like I'm smelling anything exciting, like natural coffee. Of course, you might not be a natural guy. Okay, so here's something else from Stumptown. I guess Stumptown is giving out green samples. This is a coffee from Guatemala. Let's have a look at this. Again, yeah, just clean. Nothing untoward. Nothing terribly exciting. I mean, like one of my favorite coffees that's aged, and it's now a 2007 harvest, so it is now 14 years old. Is this coffee that I picked up back in 2007 or 2008? It was a 2007 harvest from Idito Misty Valley. Abdullah Gersh is the producer, and in Ethiopia, beautiful, like one of the most beautiful natural process blueberry flavored coffees I've ever had in my life. It was so stunning. When I first found it, I was like, oh my God, I got to buy it. So I called them at the time, Vornos in California. And I called them up. I said, dude, I need you to send me that coffee right away. I will pay for it. I will I will ship 1 or 2 bags from California to me so that I can have it. And that's a coffee that had beautiful blueberry fruit, like the most brilliant blueberry fruit I've ever had. Even now, 15 years later. Uh, but that coffee is no longer that vibrant fruit. Like it's changed, right? It's become more mellow. It's become more like a Cabernet Sauvignon, like really just kind of more rounded fruit flavor. So it changes. It does change. All right, so let's have a look here. Our next one. Oh, we're going even smaller now. Oh, this is kind of interesting. This is the Yemen Mocha Ismaili Hirazi, 2003. Okay. This one might have to go on the menu at the new shop. Look at that. I've been thinking about mocha coffee lately, mainly because I'm editing a video about mocha coffee, the cafe in Tokyo. All right, what's next? What's next here? Oops. All right, we have a bag of unlabeled coffee, and here's something that has a little bit of an issue, right? So look at this. This one doesn't have a label, right? So I don't know what this is, but it looks, maybe it could be natural process, maybe, but it's got a lot of dust. Look at the dust that's in here. Honestly, I don't even know if this is enough coffee to even put into a roaster. Maybe in that small black roaster, I can roast this. Maybe give that a try and see. Just because we don't know what it is. Another one from Zambica Estates. Not sure what that is. That looks not bad. And then finally, our ultimate, that was our penultimate bag. Now we have our final bag. Another one from Cafe Imports, the Sumatra Man Healing Sari Makmur. A lot of dust in this one. This, you know, when I see this kind of dust, I wonder, like, could there be some kind of issue here? Exactly. Peter says dust is bugs. Yeah, that is a big concern. We will not be opening this and smelling these coffees. Let's make sure that these two are keep separate. All right, well, that's it. Anything that looked interesting to you? There were, I think for sure at some point. Actually, this one, I think I'm gonna. This one, the Yemen, I think I'm gonna sequester that one. And then the rest, well, maybe anything that looks interesting to you that you're interested. I am interested in trying this Zambian coffee from my friend Tea's farm. I'd be interested to see what that's like. Maybe some of these Stump Townies. The Zimbabwe Grade 3. This is probably the one I have the most of. Like, it feels the heaviest. Chumba Valley. This one, Guatemalan. That's one thing I don't really know much about. I don't know much about Guatemalan coffees. Like, we have a little bit, but I've never really ventured into Guatemala. I mean, mainly because it's like people have asked me, well, how come you haven't done much Guatemala? It's mainly because I'm only selling so much coffee, and I only have so much bandwidth, right? Like, much as I like Guatemalan coffees I've had and would like to go there, it's just like, how many origins can I get to in a year? That's always there's always a limitation, right? Something like that. Maku's with us. What's my Maku? How are you? I recently had that experience where I was blown away by the fruitiest tasting beans I've ever had. These were the Wilton Benitez Thermal Shock Natural Colombian beans. Wow. I bought them at Jubala in Raleigh. Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. I haven't had too much with Thermal Shock coffees, but I'm very open. Actually, it's funny. I was just, one of my friends who runs a pretty large coffee company in Mexico City was posting. I don't know what his position is, but I'm presuming that he's against it, because basically the meme had a portafilter filled with coffee and a bunch of Doritos in them, and it was a commentary about the co-ferments, and like, and I find it really fascinating the level of anger and hate generated by coffee people regarding co-fermented coffees, thermal shock coffees, and I'm just like, what are you guys? What's there to be upset about? Like, they're like, it's flavored. It's like, Is it flavored? I don't know. I mean, if it's in the process, if it's in the fermentation, is it flavoring? And I guess the question is, are these the same kind of people that get angry about bourbon companies aging their bourbon or doing additional aging, secondary aging of their bourbons or whiskeys in like port wine barrels? Like, does that get them upset? Like, do they get upset about that? Or are they like, oh, I love this? I think there's plenty of room for all comers in the realm of coffee. That's my personal thought. Like, I want to have more funky, interesting, different experiences because I think that'll get people exciting, people interested. Like, we want more people to come and enjoy it. Despite what I said in a post on was a Perfect Daily Grind on Instagram, where the question that Perfect Daily Grind asked was, should they increase consumption in producing countries? And I was kind of like, do we really want to do that? Like, as global warming happens and we're losing coffee lands and more people are coming online in other parts of the world that are asking for that want more coffee, do you really want consumption in the growing countries to increase? Because if you're a Western buyer and you, going back to our Philippine example, you look at the Philippines heavy demand in countries, so the base price of coffee is much higher than the specialty, the base price of specialty. And I mean, the base price of commercial is higher than the base price of specialty. So Western buyers are upset with that. So do you really want that? Like, is that something you really want? Not that I'm against it. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually for it. But the question is, like, we see these specialty guys talking about all their highfalutin ideals of, like, paying the farmers more. But when it comes to paying the farmers more, because the specialty coffee guys are all like, I'm going to pay more for coffee, but it has to be 87 or 88 or 90 plus. I'll pay for that because I can get Bryan and I. But if I got to buy an 82 coffee, then I want it to be $1.90. That's kind of the idea, right? But so to pay $3.30 for like 82 coffee is just like, oh, that just makes them upset. So yeah, there it is. That's all I can think about. Peter says, co-fermenting a luwak intestinal gut tract. Why not? We should try it. I'm willing to try it. I mean, I put espresso in natto, and I'm going to be putting espresso in durian. So what's there not to try in the world anymore? All right. That's pretty much it for me today. Hope you have a wonderful day out there. Thank you very much for tuning in. Always good to see all of you guys. Marcus, thanks for joining us today. Good to have you. And Keone, hope you have an enjoyable time in Manila. If you end up going to go to Albert's tonight, go tell Luigi I said hello. And if Bianca's working, tell her I still miss her. Tell her I still miss her. I'm still dreaming about her. All right, so hope you have a wonderful day or night, depending, or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And back again tomorrow with more of the Coffee Q&A. Hope to see you then.